lost my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side. Dark side.
Yamcha was lifted off the ground, his body writhing in agony as the destructive energy coursed through his veins. His once strong and toned body was now nothing more than a shattered husk, torn apart by the sheer force of Beerus's attack. The other Z warriors were left stunned, their comrade reduced to nothing more than a memory. They watched in horror as Yamcha's body was consumed by the intense energy, his very being erased from existence. It was a tragedy that shook the Dragon Ball community to its core, a stark reminder of the power and destructive force that Beerus held. Our story continues on a barren continent known as Asia. The air crackled with tension as the Z-fighters stood before the menacing god of destruction, Lord Beerus. Yamcha's lifeless body was nowhere to be found, a grim reminder of the destruction that this powerful deity was capable of. Krillin was consumed by grief and anger, he could barely contain his emotions. He glared at Beerus menacingly, his fists clenched so tight that blood started to run down his knuckles. Yamcha, Tien, he called out. They were my friends. How could you be so callous? Beerus simply shrugged, as if the death of an insignificant mortal meant nothing to him. They were in my way, he uttered, his face twisted with anger. You are all in my way. I have more important things to attend to. Just accept your planet faith and ease gracefully into other world. Krillin's eyes narrowed. Upon hearing Beerus's words, he spoke. Like what? Destroying innocent lives? Beerus chuckled at Krillin's outburst, amused by the puny fighter's bravery. How many times must I repeat myself? The god of destruction thundered, his voice echoing across the planet. His impatience was growing by the second, and the mere thought of not knowing what had happened to Whis was unbearable. I am a god, he continued, his voice low and ominous. Everything, and everyone in this universe is under my jurisdiction. And yet, you dare to defy me. The god of destruction's eyes blazed with fury as his destruction aura coated his entire body, the planet trembling at his command. Call those Saiyans, he roared, his voice shaking the very foundations of the battlefield. Call every last one of them. Broly, Vegeta, Goku, and his brat son. All remind them of a destroyer's wrath. The other Z fighters exchanged worried looks as they realized the gravity of the situation. They knew that the god of destruction was not to be trifled with, and that their very lives were at stake. Yet, they could not simply stand by and let him do as he pleased. Soon, Orange Piccolo stepped forward, his voice filled with determination. I'm afraid that we can't let you leave, Beerus, he said, his eyes fixed on the god of destruction. Even if it meant certain death for us, we cannot allow you to destroy our planet nor to find the location of the Saiyans. Beerus chuckled darkly, his eyes flashing with amusement. It seems you haven't learned your lesson yet, Green Man, he muttered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You people are but mere mortals, ants beneath my feet. You cannot possibly hope to stand against me. Didn't you figure that out from your recent pitiful display of strength? Without warning, the scene shifted instantly to the Null Realm, where the remaining 8 gods of destruction were engaged in an epic battle against the Saiyans. The air crackled with energy as explosive clashes of power illuminated the void, each blow sending shockwaves that threatened to tear apart the very fabric of the cosmos. The gods of destruction fought with all their might, their bodies pushed to the brink of exhaustion as they clashed against the formidable fusion of Goku and Vegeta, known as Ultra Gogeta. The fusion was too powerful, as Gogeta had taken on his Ultra form, his ki radiating with a blinding intensity that threatened to overwhelm everything in its path. Despite their best efforts, the gods found themselves struggling to hold their own against the overwhelming power of the Saiyans. They had never faced opponents like this before, and it was beginning to show. With each passing moment, the battle grew more intense. Explosions rocked the arena as both the gods and Saiyans exchanged blow after blow, each one more devastating than the last. The gods of destruction fought with all their might, unleashing their most powerful attacks in a desperate bid to turn the tide of the battle. Each attack landed with bone-shattering force, sending shockwaves rippling through the empty space. As the battle raged on, it seemed as though the once feared gods of destruction were fighting a losing battle. The once frenzied battle had suddenly come to a lull, as if the universe itself had paused for a moment to catch its breath. In that fleeting respite, the gods took advantage of the precious time to regroup and reevaluate their plan of attack. Their initial strategy had failed them, and the relentless pursuit of triumph had left them battered and bruised. Amidst the deafening sound of colliding and opposing shockwaves, the gods huddled together like a pack of wolves, their eyes locked in a fierce determination. Their faces, etched with frustration, reflected the weight of their responsibility to restore balance to the multiverse. They felt that the only way to emerge victorious was to devise a new approach, one that would surprise and strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. Suddenly, Ultra Gogeta's gaze grew ever further, his disdain for the gods clear in his every word. His eyes glinted with amusement as he watched the gods' feeble attempts to push back against the overwhelming power they now possess. What manner of foolishness is this? He scoffed, his voice dripping with contempt. They think they can resist us? They are nothing, the once feared gods are nothing but ants beneath our feet. Beside him, his fellow Saiyan nodded in agreement, a wicked smile playing on the face of Broly. Their feeble resistance only makes their death all the more inevitable, he added, his voice laced with satisfaction. However, despite the apparent ease with which they were decimating the gods of destruction, Ultra Gogeta knew better than to underestimate their opponents. After all, they are still deities. He remained vigilant, his senses attuned to every movement on the battlefield. But even as he prepared for the worst, Ultra Gogeta couldn't help but feel a sense of dissatisfaction. It's as if something or someone was lurking in the shadows. What is that? He mutters to himself. Something is creeping around, but I can't seem to pinpoint its location. Ultra Gogeta's eyes widened as he felt the energy of the evil god Urark growing stronger. He shouted to the others, "Can you feel that?" His powerful voice traveled slowly across the dark sky, alerting the Saiyans to danger. Broly furrowed his brow, trying to focus his senses. Suddenly, with much concentration, he felt a faint but unmistakable energy signature that made his blood run cold. "Is that Urark?" he said. No, it couldn't be, as he soon started to look over at the evil god's lifeless corpse on the arena surface. Suddenly, before Broly could even locate the faint energy, he heard a shout from behind. "Look out, Broly!" Beast Gohan cried, his hands already crackling with energy. Broly only saw a blur of movement, and then instantly, he could feel a rush of heat charge dangerously across his face as Beast Gohan had located and fired a power ki blast which had exploded on contact with the entity. Panting slightly, Broly turned to face Gohan, his eyes darting around the battlefield. What was that? He yelled. That thing had no physical form. The Saiyans' assault had left the battlefield in disarray. The gods were also struggling to understand what was going on, as even they themselves failed to comprehend the true nature of the entity that had suddenly appeared. As the ground trembled beneath their feet from the explosion, the air also crackled with electricity. Soon the gods could sense a presence, a faint familiar power, and yet, they could not quite grasp its identity. "What in the name of the heavens is going on?" said Hellas, the god of destruction of Universe 2, who soon cried out in confusion, her voice trembling with fear as she spoke once more. "What kind of presence is this? Whatever it is, it sure doesn't want to be found," Champa muttered, his eyes narrowed in suspicion. The tension of the battle had come to a sudden halt, as the Saiyans and gods alike turned their attention towards the mysterious entity that lurked in the shadows. As the gods stood there, a small piece of Urark's skin, the same skin he had hidden away before being defeated by Ultra Gogeta, began to slowly creep towards them. It was then that they realized they were still in grave danger. Urark's pursuit was not solely focused on Broly, but also extended to the gods themselves, who remained unaware of the threat that was out to get them. The Saiyans and gods on the battlefield believed that the evil god had been defeated and killed. Little did they know what was about to transpire. Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, Urark had covered the gods with his skin, catching them off guard and leaving them with no time to react. 3 of the gods managed to narrowly escape before the attack, but unfortunately, the remaining 5 were quickly absorbed and fused into Urark's body. Ultra Gogeta felt a surge of rage and power, the terrifying level of power to force the Saiyans to take flight. "Broly, Gohan, come with me," he shouted, grabbing the Saiyan's arm and soaring into the sky. The Saiyans were stoned out of their mind, as they had never once anticipated this. "This thing possesses the same ability as Majin Buu," yelled Gohan as he had a flashback of Dragon Ball Z. "Who?" Broly asked, unable to recognize the person Gohan was referring to. "It's a long story, Broly," Ultra Gogeta replied. "If we make it through this, I'll fill you in on all the story." As the Saiyan ascended higher and higher in the sky, the evil god's power level skyrocketed, causing the air around them to crackle with energy. "I can feel him," Ultra Gogeta growled, his eyes narrowing in the radiant black and purple divine energy that had engulfed the entire battlefield. "What has he become?" yelled Gohan as he couldn't believe his eyes. The result was terrifying. Iraq towered over the battlefield, his aura rippling with power. "I am unstoppable," he shouts, his voice booming like thunder. "I finally have the power that I've long yearned for." As the 5 gods of destruction were absorbed by Iraq, a transformation unlike anything the multiverse has ever witnessed began to take place. The very fabric of reality seemed to bend and warp around this entity, as his power grew exponentially with each passing second. The air vibrated with energy, and the ground quaked beneath his feet. Iraq's power was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. It was as if he had tapped into a primal force of the universe itself, and was now wielding it with unparalleled mastery. For the first time ever, 6 divine beings had fused with each other, creating an unknown entity. The very air around him shimmered with radiant destruction energy. Not even the sun could withstand the heat dispersing off his body as it started to soon start to shrink. His aura had stretched far beyond the bounds of the Null Realm, drawing power from the 5 multiverse of the gods he had absorbed. Iraq's newfound strength was so powerful that it had effortlessly dismantled the transparent barrier that the Grand Priest had placed around the arena, preventing everyone from leaving. The barrier shattered like glass, unable to withstand the sheer force of his energy. As it crumbled to pieces, the Saiyans were left gasping in disbelief, wondering what other feats of power this being was capable of. Iraq stood at the center of the arena, his eyes blazing with a fierce determination. Realizing that he had the power he needed to destroy the entire multiverse. The 3 remaining gods of destruction were rendered speechless, their eyes widening in shock and confusion. Never before had they imagined that something like this could happen. Belmont, in particular, was left stunned, his jaw hanging open as he tried to process the unfolding events before him. As the realization set in, Belmont couldn't help but blurt out in disbelief, "Hellas, Moscow, Sidra, Iwan, and Quitella. They're all dead." The words felt like a heavy weight on his tongue, and he could feel his mind spiraling into a state of disarray. The other gods looked at him with a mixture of horror and disbelief, their faces pale as they struggled to come to terms with the gravity of the situation. The idea that 9 of their fellow gods of destruction had been wiped out was simply unthinkable. For a moment, there was a stunned silence as the remaining gods tried to make sense of what had just happened. But as the reality of the situation sank in, a wave of panic began to wash over them. Only 4 of the 12 gods of destruction were left, a thought that was both terrifying and inconceivable. Brawley, who had dropped back down to his base form for a while now, was drained and his body battered. With a serious tone in his voice, he called out, "Kakarot, I mean Gogeta or whatever you call yourself, please tell me you brought the sensu beans," he yelled, his eyes pleading as he looked up at his fellow Saiyan. Gohan, who had been tasked with securing the sensu beans, stepped forward and spoke up. "There is only one remaining," he announced, holding out the precious bean. "Here, you can have it. We will definitely need you at full power. There is no telling how strong this monster is now that he has fused with the gods of destruction." Ultra Gogeta turned to Brawley, his expression serious as he spoke. "Brawley," he said firmly, "can you still go Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 again, or was that just a fluke?" Brawley's eyes narrowed as he considered the question, his mind racing as he tried to assess his own strength. "I don't know," he shouted, frustration creeping into his voice. "Throw me a damn sensu, and we will find out." Iraq, once a demon god, had now ascended to become one of the 13 primordial demon gods. He had waited patiently for this moment, for it was only with a worthy sacrifice that he could achieve his race's ultimate form. And now, he had it. His power had now surpassed even the mightiest of gods in existence. With a roar that shook the very foundations of the universe, Iraq unleashed the full extent of his power. He had fused with the sacrifice, and his body was now transformed and perfected into what was believed to be his race's ultimate form at that time. The very fabric of the universe seemed to tremble at the sheer force of his presence. As he surveyed the battlefield with eyes glowing with a fiery intensity, his power coursed through his veins like a raging inferno. His maniacal cackling echoed across the cosmos as he reveled in the immense power he had gained, his eyes filled with a fierce determination to challenge even the Grand Priest himself. "At last," shouted the primordial demon god Iraq, his excitement palpable. "With the strength I now possess, I am confident that I am a threat even to the Grand Priest himself. It is only a matter of time before he appears, and I am certain of it. I'm now too powerful to ignore." Quote, meanwhile, Broly had just consumed the last Senzu bean given to him by Beast Gohan. However, neither the Saiyans nor Broly himself had anticipated the impact it would have on him. In an instant, the legendary Super Saiyan was back to full strength, but he quickly realized that he had gained even more power than before, far beyond what he had at the beginning of the fight. The rapid unlocking of new transformations had triggered a Zenkai boost like never before, and his body had quickly adapted to his newfound strength, pushing him to even greater heights. As Iraq continued to bask in his vast power, Broly stood tall as his power surged with the force of 1,000 suns. Amazing, shouted Beast Gohan, who was amazed as to how easily Broly attains power. I had a feeling that your strength may have increased, but never did I expect it to reach such a level.
I'm impressed, replied Ultra Gogeta. However, Gohan, it's not wise to take your eyes off the enemy. Even in my current form, I am unsure if a victory is even possible.
Meanwhile, Gogeta turned his attention to Gohan and Broly, his voice commanding and unwavering. This is it, boys, it's all or nothing. Join me in this fight, as I can no longer challenge him on my own. We must find a way to defeat him at all costs. Broly, make haste and transform, Ultra Gogeta replied. You might not get the chance to again. Broly, sensing the urgency in Ultra Gogeta's words, knew he had to act quickly. Without hesitation, the legendary Saiyan instantly transformed into his Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 form once more. Broly's transformation was a sight to behold as his muscles bulged and his aura erupted into a fiery blaze, illuminating the Null Realm with its brilliant glow. As his power increased even beyond what was the pinnacle of his strength, his red aura slowly spread throughout the multiverse. In his Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 form, Broly was a force to be reckoned with, his power and speed increasing to levels that surpassed even when he had first attained the form previously. The 15 times boost he had obtained from taming the Golden Uzaru seal away deep into his soul was now amplified to an astonishing 20 times boost, surpassing even Goku's famed Kaioken times 50 technique by a large margin. The sheer force of his transformation was enough to get the demon god's attention, as his eyes are now locked on the Saiyan. Would you look at that, sneered the demon god. Seems like these little monkeys have some fight left in them. Gogeta bristled at the insult. What happened to your cocky attitude? Don't tell me you're scared now.
The god's confidence was well placed, however. His power was now truly unprecedented. Even after witnessing the three Saiyans at their most powerful, the demon god continued to mock them as if he had already measured their strength against his own.
You three might make decent lackeys for me to test my newfound strength, he taunted. It won't be much of a challenge, but it'll serve as a good warm-up at least.
Ultra Gogeta gritted his teeth, his eyes flashing with a fierce determination as he responded to the primordial demon god's taunts. Scared? Don't make me laugh. We may have underestimated your power before, but we won't make that mistake again. We'll show you what true strength really is.
The god merely smirked in response, as if Gogeta's words were nothing more than the hollow boasts of an insect. We shall see, little monkey, he sneered, his eyes glittering with malicious intent. In the blink of an eye, Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4x20 Broly blasts off, targeting demon god Iraq with speed far beyond lightning. He had thought that Iraq wouldn't be able to react, as he had closed in on him in less than a picosecond. Broly swung a devastating planet-shattering blow at Iraq, but the demon god managed to block it with a punch of his own. The force of the colliding impact was so powerful that even the mighty god of destruction was blown back by shockwaves radiating in the atmosphere, shocking Dragon Ball fans who believed it was impossible. Instantly, the fight had begun, with Broly and Iraq exchanging rapid blows at lightning speed. To the surprise of the Saiyans, Iraq was smiling as if Broly's attacks were nothing. Just as Broly and Iraq were locked in combat, Beast Gohan suddenly jumped in from below, while Ultra Gogeta attacked from above. The Saiyans were about to execute a perfectly synchronized combo they had practiced in the Room of Time.
As his fellow Saiyans scattered to execute their part of the combo, Broly knew exactly what his assignment was. Recognizing the type of combo they were attempting, he understood the importance of his contribution to its success. With a clear sense of purpose, he prepared himself to execute his part with precision and power.
As the tension mounts, the battle between the mighty Saiyans and the primordial demon god reaches a boiling point. With speed 1,000 times faster than lightning, the combo was initiated. Suddenly, to the surprise of many, a sequence of devastating attacks was unleashed upon the multiverse that would leave even the bravest of deities trembling. Broly, in his Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 form, lets out a primal roar, the great ape inside dying to come out. Suddenly, the legendary Saiyan releases an explosive energy blast from his mouth. Like a laser, it thunders towards Arak with incredible velocity. The primordial demon god is momentarily caught off guard, giving Beast Gohan the opening he needs. In an instant, he charges towards Arak, unleashing a flurry of blows with a force even greater than that of a supernova. However, to the surprise of the gods of destruction helplessly watching from the background, the attack doesn't stop there. As Arak reels from the onslaught, Ultra Gogeta, the fusion of Ultra Instinct Goku and Ultra Ego Vegeta, descends from above at an incredible pace, his hands crackling with an otherworldly divine energy. Soon the fused Saiyans charge up a Kamehameha, compact with both angel and destruction energy fused into one unique divine attack. This attack was called Divine Destruction Kamehameha, a feat only a person with bout angel and destruction Kai running through their vein can perform. Instantly, with a fierce determination, Ultra Gogeta launches the blast directly at Arak with blinding speed. Just as the beam was about to make contact with the target, Broly charged in from the side, his fist glowing in the intense green aura synonymous to that of the legendary Super Saiyan. Soon, he delivers a crushing blow to the demon god's back, propelling him forward towards the incoming blast, amplifying Ultra Gogeta's attack the moment it makes contact. Ultra Gogeta's Divine Destruction Kamehameha detonates on impact, unleashing a cataclysmic explosion that tears through the fabric of the multiverse. The radiation from the blast is so intense that it burns the very light from the stars within its radius, leaving a black void in its wake. This was a battle of epic proportions, a clash of divine beings that will go down in the ancient text. As the divine energy poured out into the multiverse like a raging hurricane, even the vastness of the Null Realm seemed small in comparison. The sheer force of this power was unparalleled, and nothing could stand in its way. It was a force that could only be described as dimensional, one that could reshape the very fabric of existence itself. Yet, as this immense power resonated through the multiverse, a barrier that had once seemed impenetrable was shattered. The dimension in which the Omni King had sealed away the first mortal and the rest of the true primordial demons was no longer able to withstand the overwhelming energy that now pulsed through the multiverse. The Grand Priest, who had previously rebuilt and strengthened the seal after the Saiyans' last battle with the angels Korn and Kusu, had underestimated the true extent of mortal powers. No amount of strength or preparation could withstand a battle between entities that transcended even the divine. As the universe trembled and shook under the weight of this power, it became clear that a new era was dawning. A time of chaos and upheaval, where the very laws of nature would be rewritten. For even the gods themselves could not predict what would happen next. Suddenly, to what was not a surprise by any true Dragon Ball fan, immediately after unleashing such a cosmic size attack, it became clear that the price of this incredible display of power was high. Ultra Gogeta had burned through the remaining time he had left in that fusion, and in an instant, the fused Saiyan was no more. They had instantly split apart, reverting back into their base forms, leaving them vulnerable to an attack. The pure-blooded Saiyan was now somewhat defenseless, their energy had depleted by a whopping 90%. However, it didn't seem to bother Goku and Vegeta, as in their mind the battle was finally over and Arak was truly dead. Finally, yelled Goku, "That monster is truly dead." Vegeta, with a smirk of satisfaction, added, "Arak never stood a chance up against a true Saiyan warrior." The battlefield was a chaotic mess, with smoke and dust clouding the vision of the Saiyans. Suddenly, they were caught off guard when they heard a menacing laughter that echoed throughout the battlefield. The laughter belonged to none other than the primordial demon god Arak, and it sent shivers down their spines. Emerging from the smoke and dust, Arak's body was covered in a unique shield that glimmered in the light. The Ultra Hakai shield was a skill that he had acquired and enhanced from his fusion, and it was a force to be reckoned with. The Saiyans couldn't believe their eyes, as they watched the demon god emerge unscathed from an attack that had enough power to wipe out an entire universe. Even Beast Gohan, known for his confidence and bravado, was left speechless. "That's impossible," he exclaimed. "How did he survive that?" Broly, who was known for his overconfident attitude, was now feeling inferior to the demon god. He started to question his own strength, wondering if he could ever measure up to the power of Arak. "He's just too flipping strong," Broly muttered to himself. "Goku, Vegeta," he called out. "We may have bitten off more than we could chew this time." The Saiyans were traumatized, their faces filled with confusion and fear. Gohan, always the strategist, quickly formulated a plan. "Father," he yelled, Broly and I will hold him off. You and Vegeta should use this opportunity to escape." But Vegeta wasn't having any of it. He was insulted that a Saiyan would suggest that he should run from a fight. "Don't insult me, boy," he growled. "A true Saiyan doesn't simply run from a fight. What happened with Broly was a one-time thing, and I promise myself that it will never happen again. Kakarot, you're free to leave, but I'm staying. I will defeat that monster with my own power." Immediately, a smile began to break out on Goku's face. Surprisingly, he also agreed with Vegeta, sharing the same thoughts as the battle had gone on long enough and both of them wanted to stop Barok using their own strength. Soon, the Saiyan muscles ached as he reached out towards the sky. Sweat trickled down his forehead, mixing with the blood oozing from his wounds. But even in his weakened state, he refused to give up. He couldn't afford to, not when the fate of his friends and family, along with the fate of the seventh universe rested on their shoulders. "Come to me," he bellowed, his voice echoing across the barren landscape. His eyes were fixed on the angelic staff, the only thing left standing after their epic battle with the gods of destruction and Jiren. It had been silently siphoning all the energy from the battle with Jiren all the way until now, waiting for its chance to shine. It was then that a thought suddenly struck him, and without hesitation, he commanded the staff to appear before him. And just like that, it was there, gleaming in the bright sun. "Very smart," Vegeta sneered, his arms crossed. "For once, this imbecile is finally using his head. Call me impressed." Goku grinned, pleased to have earned the rare compliment from his rival. He knew he had to act fast, so he wasted no time in ordering the staff to restore their energy to full health. Vegeta joined in the demand, the other two Saiyans backing them up. The staff, despite now belonging to Goku, seemed to be taking orders from all four Saiyans. It hummed with power as it transferred all the energy it had siphoned into both Goku and Vegeta, their bodies glowing with a renewed vitality. They were back to full power, but at a cost. The staff had shattered from the overuse. "Well, this is it, Vegeta," Goku responded, his voice heavy with the weight of their predicament. "We are all out of backups. If we run out of stamina, we will surely die this time for certain." Vegeta's eyes narrowed, showcasing a nonchalant look, his mind already made up as he knew he couldn't hold back against such an opponent like this anymore. No longer was he worried about the Grand Priest and the angels showing up, as the only option he had left was to go Omni, hoping that it would be enough despite its 3-minute time limit. Suddenly, we see Goku bow his head, a sense of gratitude washing over the Saiyan as he thanked the staff for its service, knowing that it had played a crucial role in their survival. And just like that, it vanished from existence, leaving the Saiyans to face their fate alone. In an instant, the scene transported back to Earth, where the valiant Z fighters were locked in a fierce battle against a fearsome god of destruction, Lord Beerus. The fate of the entire planet hung in the balance as they struggled to defend against the unstoppable power of their adversary. As the fight wore on, it became clear that the Z fighters had exhausted all of their options. Even their most powerful combination attacks had failed to inflict any harm on the seemingly invincible deity, leaving them desperate and without a plan. Their hopes fading fast, and the Z fighters knew that the destruction of the planet was inevitable, however they refused to just lay down and die. The god of destruction floated high above the Earth's atmosphere, his massive form casting a shadow over the planet below. Suddenly, he felt an unimaginable force radiating from the far reaches of Universe 7, an energy so immense that it made his very being tremble in fear and doubt. "What is this power?" he bellowed, his voice echoing across the cosmos. What kind of creature could wield such a force? The Z fighters, too, were stunned by the sheer magnitude of the energy. They could feel it coursing through every fiber of their being, an indescribable power that shook the very foundations of the universe. "It's the Saiyans," cried Piccolo, his eyes wide with amazement. "I can feel it. I could never forget the energy I felt when they first fused into Gogeta. This aura feels similar, but much more powerful." Krillin nodded in agreement, his face etched with concern. If they've had to resort to fusion, it means they're in serious trouble. Goku and Vegeta hate relying on it. Android 17, meanwhile, soared high into the sky, his senses attuned to the energy emanating from the far reaches of the universe. His heart pounded with anticipation, for he knew that the kind of power the Saiyans are wielding was unlike anything he had ever felt before. Suddenly, in a blinding flash of light, he saw it, a divine energy so bright that it outshone the very stars themselves as it continued to pour into the universe. So, Piccolo was telling the truth the entire time, Beerus uttered to himself. His fist clenched with anger as the tale he was told about Whis being dead might actually be true. Beerus was taken aback by the overwhelming power of the Saiyans. The intensity of their aura was beyond anything he had ever experienced, and he found himself completely surrounded by it. Despite his shock, his mind remained focused on the battle at hand, ready to attack if and when he's being attacked. As he tried to make sense of what he had just witnessed, a sense of disbelief washed over him. "You have got to be kidding me," he muttered under his breath. "This strength rivals, if not surpasses, even the mightiest of angels." He couldn't believe that mere mortals could possess such raw power. How can they attain such a level of strength in such a short period of time? Determined to uncover the truth behind the Saiyan's newfound strength, Beerus resolved to investigate further. What in the hell could be going on? He mused. "I have to find out." As he tried to process what he had just felt, Beerus couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency. He knew he had to get to the bottom of this. However, he soon realized that he had already spent too much time on the planet. It was time for him to leave. Turning his gaze towards the Z fighters, Beerus raised his voice. "This was an interesting battle, but I'm afraid it has gone on long enough. It's time I end it." His words dripped with finality and conviction, leaving no room for negotiation. It was clear that he had made up his mind and nothing could change it. A sudden burst of energy erupted from Lord Beerus, as he charged up an enormous ball of destruction. The ball was crackling with an intimidating force, emanating a dark aura that could be felt across the planet. The mere sight of it was enough to send shivers down the spines of even the bravest warriors on Earth. Time was of the essence, and Lord Beerus was in no mood to waste any more of it. His interest in locating the Saiyans was at its peak, and he needed answers. "It's time to die, mortals," bellowed the god, his voice echoing across the planet. The sound of his voice was bone-chilling, and it seemed to reverberate through the very core of the Earth. "It's nothing personal. The Earth has outlived its usefulness to me. It's a shame, really. I will miss its delightful foods." With a sudden surge of power, the massive ball of destruction was fully charged and ready to unleash its devastating power. The ball of destruction was swirling with dark energy, pulsating with a frightening intensity. The Z fighters were paralyzed with fear as they watched the god of destruction ready to unleash his wrath on the planet. "We did everything we could to protect the Earth, but we have failed," said Piccolo, his voice tinged with defeat. His eyes were locked onto the swirling ball of destruction, which seemed to be getting bigger by the second. "I can no longer maintain my form. My energy and stamina have flatlined." The Z fighters closed their eyes, resigned to their fate. They knew there was nothing left to do but accept death at the hands of a god of destruction. The energy from the ball of destruction was so intense that they could feel it on their skin. But just as Lord Beerus was about to drop the ball of destruction on the Earth's crust, his hand was grabbed by an unexpected figure, Lord Frieza. The sudden interruption caused Beerus to falter, and the ball of destruction dissipated into thin air. "What the?" exclaimed Beerus, surprised by Frieza's sudden appearance. "Long time no see, Beerus," said Frieza with a smug grin, jumping back instinctively. He had managed to grab Beerus without the god even sensing his approach. "I couldn't let you have all the fun without me. How dare you address me in such a manner, mortal," retorted Beerus, his anger rising. "This is the second time you have called me without saying Lord. It's about time I teach you some discipline, since King Cold never bothered to." Surprisingly, Frieza started to laugh. His laughter echoed across the battlefield. The Z fighters could hardly believe their ears. Had the tyrant lost his mind, or was he truly that confident in his power? Master Roshi shook his head in disbelief. "Has Frieza gone mad?" he asked, bewildered. "He must have a death wish or something." Piccolo, however, had a different take on the situation. "No, he's hiding something," he said, his voice tinged with suspicion. "Frieza is no fool. If he's talking to Lord Beerus in such a manner, he either has something up his sleeve or he's achieved a new level of power. One that would make him overconfident." Krillin, meanwhile, was relieved that the Earth had been given a reprieve. "Who cares?" he said, shrugging his shoulders. "A moment ago, the Earth was done for. Now we have more time. It's obvious that Lord Beerus is the one Frieza came here for. However, the only thing I'm a bit worried about is that a battle such as that could potentially destroy the Earth in the process." The air was tense and charged with an undeniable power as the Emperor, his cold eyes fixed on his target, uttered his dark intentions. "I initially came here to kill those monkeys and destroy this planet," he declared, his voice laced with a cruel arrogance. "But upon seeing you here, Who am I to turn down such an opportunity to defeat a destroyer? This is a sure-set way to leave an impact or to showcase my dominance upon this universe. Lord Beerus, the god of destruction, scoffed in response. Don't make me laugh, he bellowed, his tone laced with amused contempt. You defeat me, not even in your wildest dream. To me, you're just an insect ready to be squashed. The god, undeterred, simply smirked in response. Okay Frieza, entertain me for a bit, he taunted, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Let me see what got you so cocky. Without warning, Frieza began to transform. His body began to shift and contort, his energy flaring to life with an otherworldly intensity. But to everyone's surprise, he stopped at his regular golden form. Lord Beerus, for his part, was unimpressed. What, you mean to tell me that you were talking all that shit just to show me this? He roared, his disappointment palpable. Come on Frieza, sure. You are stronger than when you last fought Goku and Vegeta in their Super Saiyan Blue form, but surely you didn't think that this would be a challenge for me, did you? Frieza simply chuckled in response, his eyes gleaming with a newfound confidence. Oh, I think you'll find that I have a few tricks up my sleeve, he purred, his voice oozing with malice. But let's not spoil the surprise just yet, shall we? Okay then, responded the god of destruction. Let's see what you can do. Feel free to attack me whenever you're ready. With a flash of light, the scene switched back to the Saiyan duo, who were now both at full power. The Zenkai boost they received was otherworldly, causing a dark purple aura to start swirling around them even in their base forms. As Vegeta unfurled, Goku could instantly tell that something was wrong. The air around him felt thick and heavy, like a weight pressing down on his very soul. What is this feeling? Something's wrong with my body. Goku yelled, his voice laced with panic. As the Saiyan continued to shout, something mysterious and unexpected began to happen. While they were fused as Ultra Gogeta, the first mortal aura present in Vegeta had fused together with Goku. When they separated, Goku's body began to assimilate some of that aura on its own. His body had remembered that power and feeling even though it wasn't his power. Instantly, Goku's muscles began to bulge, the veins in his arms expanding as his energy surged to an omniversal level. Flashes of a new transformation began to flicker in his eyes, and he heard an ominous voice calling out to him. Kakarot, Kakarot, don't let that power consume you. Vegeta yelled upon sensing the familiar key. He instantly knew what was happening. Remember what you're fighting for. Remember your family, he shouted, hoping to bring Goku back to his senses. Goku was on the brink of achieving something terrifying. Like Vegeta, he had unlocked the legendary Omni transformation, but the challenge wasn't to unlock it, it was to control it. Such a power did not belong in the hands of mortals and could potentially cause his body to explode, destroying the multiverse as collateral. Will Goku be able to control this immense power, or will he be consumed by it? As the Null Realm quaked beneath him, Goku could feel an unimaginable power surging through his body. Every fiber of his being was suffused with a raw, primal force that threatened to consume him whole. Red and white lightning crackled and sparked from his form, illuminating the darkness of the void. Despite his best efforts, Goku struggled to contain the tremendous energy that coursed through him. It was a level of power beyond anything he had ever experienced before. Even the mighty Ultra Instinct 3 Kaioken times 100 form paled in comparison. Just like Vegeta before him, Goku found himself locked in a desperate struggle to control the uncontrollable. But there was more at play than just raw power. Zurama, the first mortal, had fused his very being with the power belonging to the Fountain of Creation. However, the fountain was for the pure of heart and he was not. Due to this, his entire blood and aura had become corrupted. Through some dark magic, his corrupt aura had seeped into the Saiyan's bloodstream, granting him strength beyond measure, but it also leaving him vulnerable to Zurama's influence, seeing that this power wasn't truly his own. Goku could feel the corruption spreading through him, like a cancerous growth eating away at his soul. What's the matter, Kakarot? He called out, his voice tinged with both concern and challenge. It's not like you to make excuses. We both know that anything I can do, you can do as well. That's why you are my rival, Kakarot. The answer lies with your heart, only you can find it. Goku stood before Vegeta, his eyes blazing with an unyielding determination that seemed to radiate from his very being. His muscles tensed, coiled like a spring as he prepared to harness the great power within him. The ground beneath them trembled, as if in anticipation of the battle to come. With every ounce of his being, Goku fought against the surging power within him. It was as if a great tempest raged inside his body, threatening to tear him apart. However, the Saiyan refused to give in. His mind was focused, as he remembered what Whis had taught him. Soon, instinctively, he started drawing upon the pure-hearted spirit that had always been his greatest weapon, and slowly, but surely, he began to reign in the power. Suddenly, the change in Goku's aura was quite noticeable. Zoroma's aura, which had been pulsing through his body, began to react differently to the change in nature. At first, Goku wasn't sure what was happening, but for the first time ever, he started to feel control. As it turns out, both Goku and Vegeta possessed the one trait that was needed to drink from the fountain of creation. They both were pure of heart, something that even the Omni King himself lacked, as feelings and emotions had a very direct relationship with a person becoming pure of heart. Instantly, within Goku's body, Zoroma's aura was being purified, something that the first mortal had never considered to be possible. As Gohan's eyes widened in disbelief, he called out to his father with a sense of urgency, "Father." The sight before him was too incredible to comprehend. Just like Vegeta, his own father had achieved that transformation, the same one Vegeta had used to defeat both Korn and Kusu. How is this even possible? Gohan's mind raced with questions as he witnessed the birth of no one, but two omnipotent beings. The young Saiyan couldn't help but feel a sense of doubt and wonder creeping into his thoughts. I'm also a Saiyan. If both Father and Vegeta can achieve such power, what's stopping me? Gohan pondered to himself, his eyes fixated on the scene unfolding before him. Is this only a transformation only a pure-blood Saiyan can achieve? Soon, the Saiyan started to wonder if his father's unyielding determination and drive for strength had been passed down to him as well. But to the surprise of all Dragon Ball fans, it wasn't just Gohan who was shocked by the display of power before them. Even the legendary warrior Broly, who had been observing from the corner of the arena, couldn't help but feel a surge of pride in his Saiyan heritage. It's moments like these that makes me proud to be a Saiyan, he remarked, his deep voice carrying over the sounds of battle. We are the ultimate warrior race, after all. As the scene shifted, we were transported to a realm of unparalleled power, a place where even the most powerful beings dared not venture without permission. The palace of the Omni King loomed before the viewers, a grand and imposing structure that humbled even the most strongest of beings. The Omni King himself stood at the forefront, observing the events that were unfolding, and beside him stood the Grand Priest, the father of all angels. It seems that yet another mortal has attained the legendary Omni transformation, the Grand Priest stated with a hint of trepidation in his voice. My lord, should I intervene? If we allow this to continue, I fear that these Saiyans may surprise us even further with their unfathomable strength. Little did the Grand Priest know that Goku's ascension to the Omni form was all part of the Omni King's plan. Everything had been meticulously orchestrated to the smallest detail, and the Omni King had foreseen every possible outcome. For his plan to work, the Omni King needs both Vegeta and Goku to achieve the Omni form. The omnipotent king had a deep love for his creation Zorama. However, such love had led to his downfall due to his trust in Zorama. He never suspected that Zorama would have betrayed him in such a way. In his greed for more power, he had drank from the fountain of creation. This disastrous action caused the once abundant fountain to dry up completely, sealing away the dimension that housed the Grand Priest's wife and her followers forever as the fountain acted as a gateway to that dimension. This was troublesome for the Omni King as Kwansei, who is also the mother of all angels' chest lies the heart gem, a relic of the utmost importance. Through any means necessary, he needed the heart gem back. He had placed it inside the Grand Priest's wife, Kwansei, for safekeeping. But since the well had dried up, there was no way for him to enter that dimension as that was the only way in and out. After he had defeated Zorama, the Omni King tried to use Zorama's aura to restore the fountain of creation, thinking that it would work due to the liquid, known as aquafoam, which was the same liquid Zorama had drank from the fountain of creation had now fused with his soul. Upon realizing that the aquafoam had become corrupted, it dawned on him that a purifying touch was necessary to restore it to its original state. However, the elixir had undergone a significant transformation, and only an individual with a righteous heart and immense strength, equal to or greater than the one who corrupted it, could successfully perform the purification. The challenge, however, was finding a suitable candidate. Only powerful, righteous beings could imbibe the aquafoam, and not just any ordinary creature would suffice. It required someone who had achieved immense strength through sheer determination and hard work. This event and the need to access the other dimension had led to the creation of mortals. An experiment that had once been abandoned was revitalized, and mortals were created to fulfill this lofty purpose. Despite the passage of billions of years, the Omni King had yet to find a mortal capable of purifying the corrupted aquafoam. While there were many righteous individuals, none possessed the power required to complete the task. Then, a glimmer of hope emerged with the arrival of Goku and his companions, who had consistently amazed the Omni King with their abilities during the Tournament of Power. These warriors continuously pushed beyond mortal limitations, displaying extraordinary strength and determination. Although they were still not strong enough, the Omni King saw potential in them, as their recent performances suggested that they were far from reaching their full potential. With renewed optimism, the Omni King believed that perhaps Goku and his friends were the kind of mortals needed to restore the aquafoam to its natural state. The Omni King was an omnipotent and omniscient being despite everyone in Dragon Ball shitting on him, thinking that he's stupid. However, he is actually very smart. Not just yet, Daishinkan, responded Zeno. I still need you to stay put for now as things are going as planned. I need the Saiyans to get stronger before we intervene, as they are still too weak. Let us observe and see what happens. As you wish, my lord, the Grand Priest replied, still harboring a deep desire for revenge for the loss of his children. Anxiously, he watched as events unfolded, eagerly anticipating the opportunity to take action when the time was right. As the scene shifted back to Goku, his body began to glow with an otherworldly aura that radiated power and strength beyond comprehension. Vegeta's face twisted into a grin as he looked on in amazement. He did it, he really did it, Vegeta exclaimed. He actually managed to achieve the Omniform. Even though he may not maintain it for long, this is truly impressive. I never doubted him for a second. As Goku's power continued to surge, it had caught the attention of the primordial demon god. Iraq was stunned. However, for some unknown reason, he was not afraid. He had never seen a mortal achieve such power before, and yet, the god remained unfazed. In fact, he was itching to test his own power against it. Impressive? Iraq said, his voice filled with amazement. How is it possible for a mortal to attain such strength? His body should have exploded by now. Suddenly, Goku's eyes met with Iraq. His gaze was terrifying and he gripped his fist with pure determination. It's time for you to die, Iraq, and this time, I'm going to ensure that you stay dead. Iraq started to laugh as if he heard a joke, his eyes fixed on the mighty Saiyan. How amusing, you're not like any mortal I've ever encountered before, he said. Nevertheless, a mortal is still a mere mortal. Let me show you the power that transcends even beyond the gods. Iraq stood before Omni Goku. He had a fierce and imposing figure that would scare any being, his muscles bulging with power and his aura crackling with energy. Soon, he began powering up, unleashing a surge of raw energy that rippled through the air. In just a matter of moments, Iraq had powered up to using 50% of his powers, and the energy around him was practically palpable. Quick notice, guys. Please do your boy a favor and go subscribe to my other channels. The link can be found in the comment section below. Thank you. Without warning, the demon god charged forward, his body moving with incredible speed and grace as he hurtled towards Omni Goku with an otherworldly force. The two warriors clashed in a battle of epic proportions, their fists colliding with a force that was beyond even God's comprehension. As their fists met, the impact was so intense that it shattered reality itself, creating millions of black holes that tore through the fabric of the multiverse, eating every planet in its way. The very multiverse shook with the force of their blows, and it seemed as though the entire Null Realm was holding its breath as the two combatants battled for dominance. Iraq gritted his teeth as he watched Goku's muscles vibrate with raw divine energy. The Saiyan was proving to be stronger than he had ever imagined, and Iraq knew that he needed to take action quickly. How in the hell does he have such control over this power? Iraq yelled, frustration evident in his voice. This monkey is very strong. Don't get too cocky, he warned himself. The real battle has just begun. Suddenly, we see Goku struggling to maintain his omniform, as the intense energy coursing through his body threatened to overwhelm him. This form is highly unstable, Goku replied, his voice strained. I can hardly contain it. There is too much raw energy flowing out of me. My body is not yet at the level to control such vicious energy. Despite his struggles, a small smirk began to show on Goku's face as he raised his hand, admiring his overwhelming power. So this is a Super Saiyan God's full potential, he said, marveling at his own strength. Damn it, I can't maintain this for long. 2 minutes is all I can manage for now. I have to try and end it quickly. Iraq watched in shock as Goku unleashed his full power, marveling at the sheer strength and intensity of a full-power Super Saiyan God. He knew that he needed to act fast. No longer does he believe that 50% of his power would be enough to defeat the Saiyans, and so he realized that he had to go all out if he wanted to survive. "Alright then," Iraq said, determination fill in his voice. "Let's see what you've got, monkey." From the left of Omni Goku, a familiar and authoritative voice rang out, cutting through the tension in the air. "Kakarot, you imbecile, stop wasting precious time and finish this." Vegeta, having recently achieved the Omni form himself, understood the immense strain that came with the transformation. He knew that due to Goku's inexperience with the power, he only had a maximum of 3 minutes before his body would give out. "Vegeta's right," Omni Goku admitted, feeling the weight of the ticking clock. His cells seemed ready to burst, and he wasn't sure how much longer he could withstand the pressure. Glancing at his rival, Goku couldn't help but be impressed. That Vegeta is truly a gifted fighter. The fact that he can tap into this incredible power at will is a remarkable achievement in itself. "Kakarot," Vegeta barked, clearly impatient. "Calm down, Vegeta. I'll take care of him now," Goku reassured his comrade. Meanwhile, Demon God Iraq seethed with fury. He couldn't believe that these mere mortals had the audacity to completely ignore his presence. "For this insufferable disrespect, I'll make you suffer slowly," he growled, muttering under his breath as his anger intensified. In an instant, with a burst of speed unseen by the naked eye, the primordial demon god vanished from existence, only to reappear behind Omni Goku, wearing a dominant expression. "Just as I thought," Iraq replied confidently, "he can't keep up with me at full power." Time itself seemed to come to a halt as Iraq leisurely strolled around a frozen Omni Goku. Dragon Ball fans might draw a comparison to Hit's time skip technique, but this was something far greater. This unprecedented speed was the very origin of all forms of time manipulation. Iraq had reached a level of velocity that every being could only dream of achieving. Without warning, Iraq halted his movement, adopting a martial arts stance that was alien to mortal eyes. The demon god was preparing to strike at Omni Goku's heart by unleashing a point-blank shockwave from behind, targeting the precise location where his heart lay. The tension was palpable, as even beyond the confines of Iraq's time acceleration technique, the Saiyans found themselves trapped in the stillness of time. Iraq was light years ahead, while their minds struggled relentlessly to catch up to his astonishing speed. Among them, only Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Broly's mind was barely able to keep pace with Iraq's incredible velocity. Despite this, his body moved with the fluidity of a snake, as Iraq's speed still surpassed his current abilities. The gap between Broly's mental processing and his physical capabilities showcased the sheer power of the primordial demon god. The Saiyans' fate remained uncertain as they endeavored to confront this seemingly insurmountable challenge. Well, would you look at that? The crimson-furred warrior can still move. This mortal demonstrates such extraordinary potential, Iraq taunted, a sinister grin spreading across his face. "Be patient and bide your time. Your demise will swiftly follow the demise of your comrade here." In an instant, Iraq unleashed a devastating power punch. A wave of air pressure burst forth from his clenched fist, surging through the air like a razor-sharp dagger aimed straight at Omni Goku's heart. At that precise moment, Omni Goku's body began to quiver with a mysterious energy. His form was vibrating at such an incredible speed that, even though time had come to a standstill, heat radiated from his body. This phenomenon seemed to reinvigorate his cells, which had been locked in their frozen state. To the astonishment of the spectators watching from the comfort of their homes, Omni Goku instinctively created a dimensional rift within the frozen fabric of time itself. Instantly, the Saiyans swiftly stepped inside it and sealed it shut just before Iraq's deadly attack had a chance to reach him. Omni Goku performed a miraculous feat. This technique defies all logic, as opening a new dimension inside time was a concept never once thought to be possible. Iraq's eyes widened in astonishment, his voice rising in a mixture of awe and disbelief. What did he just do? Even he, with his vast knowledge and power, had no memory of encountering such a technique before. The primordial demon god, a being that instilled terror in the hearts of countless warriors, found himself stepping backward, his face contorted in shock and fear. "No one should be able to escape from my technique," the demon god murmured, his voice trembling with incredulity. "It's the pinnacle of time manipulation, an ability that bends the very fabric of time itself to my will. It cannot be comprehended. All forms of time manipulation are mere offshoots of this supreme technique. One could even argue that it serves as the progenitor of all time-related abilities. So, how could this mortal, this seemingly insignificant speck, manage to shatter the unbreakable chains of my mastery over time? In a blink of an eye, a temporal rift tore through the air, and Omni Goku emerged, materializing directly behind a rock with an aura of unwavering determination. His voice was calm yet resolute as he spoke. "You sought to take my heart, didn't you? Now, I'll take yours." Before Rock could even process the sudden appearance of his opponent or muster a response, Omni Goku's beyond lightning-fast reflexes were already in motion. He thrust his hand through the very fabric of Rock's body, reaching deep into the demon god's chest cavity, where his heart was housed. In an instant, the Saiyan's firm grip closed in the area where Rock's still beating heart. However, to the Saiyan's surprise, the demon god did not have a heart, as he now remembered that it was ripped out by Iwan. "But how is he alive without a heart?" replied Omni Goku as his mind raced with confusion. "No matter, if this thing doesn't have a heart, just blow him up from the inside out." "You monster!" gasped the demon god, his voice barely a whisper, as he realized there was nothing left for him to do. "How did you become this powerful? It's all over for you, Iraq," Omni Goku declared, his expression resolute. As he spoke, a surge of energy began to coalesce around his hand, still embedded in the demon god's body. He was preparing to unleash a devastating ki blast, aimed at obliterating every single cell within Iraq's body. Omni Goku knew that Iraq possessed a formidable regenerative ability, and he was determined to leave no chance for recovery. Abruptly, the time paradox that the enigmatic Iraq had trapped the Saiyans in shattered, allowing the flow of time to resume its natural course and releasing Vegeta, Broly, and Gohan from their temporal stasis. "What's happening?" roared Gohan, his voice thick with the power of his beastly transformation, as both he and Vegeta stared in astonishment at the sight before them. Goku's arm was buried deep within the menacing demon god. "Somebody, please explain what's going on," Vegeta demanded, his voice laced with frustration and confusion, as he struggled to comprehend the chaos that had unfolded while not realizing that they were trapped in a time paradox. "Calm down, Vegeta," Broly replied soothingly. Even though he himself had been trapped, his keen mind had still managed to discern fragments of the events that transpired. "We were all frozen in time by some technique Iraq wielded. However, Goku somehow managed to bypass that limitation and create some type of portal leading to another dimension." "What?" Vegeta interjected, his voice filled with disbelief as he instantly cut Broly off. "The Omni form has no such technique. If there was such a technique, I would know. After all, I have more mastery over the Omni form than Kakarot. He just attained it, while I've had it for months now." "Look, so-called prince," Broly retorted, his tone firm yet respectful, "you don't have to take my word for it, but that's what truly happened. He travels to another dimension using the Omni form. I wonder if I can do that as well," Vegeta pondered aloud. Gradually, a cunning smirk began to form on the proud Saiyan prince's face. "This is why I keep that fool around. Once again, he has achieved something truly remarkable." The scene switches back to Iraq, whose breath ragged and muscles trembling with pure exhaustion, realizing that his fate was now sealed. His voice filled with rage and frustration as he shouted, "Don't waste time trying to preach to me. This fight is over. I have no more techniques at my disposal that you haven't already seen. Just get it over with." With sweat streaming down his bruised and battered face, Iraq's thoughts drifted back to a time when his father, and the last of the primordial demons, was being relentlessly attacked by the Omni King and the Angel race. Although he was just a baby at the time, the vivid memory of the tragedy burned within him as his father had planned all of his own memories with him, which was triggered and activated upon Iwan ripping out his heart. The pain and helplessness his race felt in that moment surging through his veins. "Father," Iraq yelled, his voice cracking with sorrow and regret, "I failed to achieve the strength needed to avenge you. Forgive me." The Saiyan's eyes blazed with intensity, signaling the final moments of the primordial demon god's existence. Immediately, Vegeta's voice began thundering throughout the battlefield, his impatience boiling over. "What are you waiting for, Kakarot?" he bellowed, his eyes flashing with urgency. "Finish it, now." Omni Goku, his body glowing with immense power, stood poised to obliterate the malevolent demon god once and for all. Yet, as fate would have it, the dire consequence of achieving the Omni form was about to make its presence known. Just as Goku drew on his extraordinary strength, Preparing to deliver the ultimate blow, his body betrayed him. It could no longer withstand the overwhelming force of the Omni transformation. His heart shuddered, faltering in its rhythm, and blood gushed from his mouth like a crimson waterfall. The unstoppable torrent of omnipotent energy surged through him, threatening to tear him apart. Goku's anguished cry pierced the air, his voice cracking under the strain of the unbearable pain. His knees buckled, and he teetered on the brink of unconsciousness. "Father!" Gohan's voice rang out, raw with panic. Now transformed into Beast Gohan, he watched in horror as his father's body crumpled under the weight of his own power. In the thick of their despair, the demon god seized the opportunity fate had so generously provided. An energy blade materialized around his hand, eerily reminiscent of Goku Black's Rosei form. The demon god's sinister laughter reverberated throughout the battlefield, a wicked glee at the fortunate turn of events. "This must be a sign," declared Rock, his voice laced with conviction. "It proves that I won't be the one meeting my demise here today." "It's truly a pity," the demon god taunted, his voice dripping with malice. "You've struggled and strived to attain this power, and yet, it will be the cause of your undoing. Mortals like you have erred gravely. One cannot simply acquire omnipotent energy without offering something of equal worth in return."